Okay, you guys got to do me the credit. I got to bitch for a bit. And I can't bitch about this to my normal peer group because I bought this truck from one of them and I don't want to make them feel bad. They shouldn't. I knew exactly what I was getting into. It's just me talking about, oh my God, you'll never guess what it did today. But I can't. It's not their fault. I just can't. So I've had a lot of problems with the dash. Okay? Last winter, the speedometer hung up, went zip, snapped the indicator off. All my charge gauge didn't do anything. Fuel, oil, temperature, bing, all at 100%. 100% all the time. So that obviously sounds like a bad ground. And I decided yesterday I had a little bit of time, very busy schedule. I was going to go ahead and pull this thing apart and get it fixed once and for all. So I take apart the wide assortment of hardware store screws that hold that dash in, and I pull the entire cluster out. The back side of this has got this sort of coppery circuit board thing, and lights clip into bare copper sockets. I polished all of that up. You notice all the dash lights are working now. That's fantastic. I found out that the charge gauge has two terminals. The last Farmer John had been in there, put both wires on the same terminal. All sorts of melty going on there. It's just been shorted out for God only knows how long. So I put that right, and that now works correctly. I decided the speedometer has never given me a lick of trouble since it did that sneeze and blew itself apart. I figured, whatever, fix it gremlins, hit the truck, we're good to go. It's going to glue the old needle back on. I went to glue the old needle back on, I broke the needle in half. So I glued half of the needle back on, except my glue was really struggling because things are a bit cold. I'm doing this in an ever-increasing snowstorm, mostly on the hood of the truck. And so I get the heat gun out, I set the heat gun there. I meant to put it on one, I accidentally put it on two. And I had to run out and grab something, and I was going to be right back. But then I dropped the thing, and I had to hunt for all the pieces in the dark. Long story short, by the time I get back, this is like an old man's prick, and it's just a dangling and flopping because I've melted the hell out of it. All of my numbers are now blurry because I melted them with a heat gun. Anyways, luckily I'd broken it in half, so I glued the other half on in place. Got that back together, crisis averted. I set up my ground wire. And that's the only thing that affects all these gauges at once, right? It's ground wire. So I set up my new ground wire, I hook it up there. In so doing, I forgot that the gauges like this, right, don't function off a common ground. The switch at the block, or the switch at the transmission, or the switch in the radiator, those are the grounds. So I shorted it out. And she went off like a flash bulb. There's a bright flash of light inside the fuel gauge, and then all the magic smoke drifted around behind the glass. That's cool. That's on me, right? Just dumbass. Okay? So put the rest of it together. Like I said, polished everything up. I thought we were going to have a fantastic job. All back together. I go to start it for the first time. Nothing. Like there's no battery in the truck. Not nothing. Not clickety-click, nothing. Like it has never known a power source since the sun lit in the heavens. The headlights won't come on. Four-way flashers won't work. There's absolutely dead nothing. So it's got to be a battery terminal. So I do the entire electrical system underneath the hood, taking each one loose, tightening it up, cleaning it all. Go back here, no change. The headlights weren't working. They're not even connected to this. Anyways, apparently this thing's got a relay somewhere, magical, fairyland, up in there, and it's connected to the plug that goes to the back of the dash somehow, possibly through any one of the half dozen Farmer John wire nut electrical tape splices going on back in there. That's delightful. He's a hell of an electrician. Nonetheless, quite frankly, I wiggled some shit, and suddenly it worked again. And it's been working ever since. So I was like, win some, lose some. I looked down at my gauges. They are definitely different. Fuel gauge, she's dead forever. Her soul has left her body. The old gauge, which used to be at 100%, now never comes off of zero. Temp gauge, still at 100%. That speedometer, much easier to read and more accurate because I think it uses the weight of the needle to help calibrate it. Anyways, much more accurate. And I was like, well, I have some successes. It has working dome lights now, right? Handful of successes, handful of setbacks. As I pulled into the driveway here this very evening, as the truck came off the road, I looked down and the speedometer's going kertick, kertick, kertick. Guess what it did before she spun off into the ether last time, right? It made it 15 miles. By the time this nightmare mess was done, I was out over 3.5 hours of my life in a pissing snowstorm. And I accomplished this. That is what I accomplished. Anyways, oh man, yeah, God dang this truck. I will say, she runs like a top and is reliably unreliable in her own way. So I can't fault that. I just had to tell the story to someone. Oh yeah, and even though I touched none of it, absolutely touched none of it, now the gear selector no longer indicates. It still goes into gear. The little needle no longer works. It worked fine yesterday before I started this. I touched nothing in here, and yet that stopped working too. All said and done, after all of it, I managed to fix the charge and the dome light and one burned out dash light. And in the course of doing it, I failed to fix this one, failed to fix this one, killed this one forever. This one is clearly out to get my children, and broke this even though I never touched it. I feel better. Thanks for letting me bitch. I can't tell my friends because I bought it from them. Have a great day.